Καλησπέρα. Ευχαριστούμε πολύ που αψηφίσατε τον καύσωνα για να βρεθείτε έτσι σε αυτό το παγωμένο διαστημικό περιβάλλον. Θα συνεχίσω στα αγγλικά, καθώς και η υπόλοιπη ομιλία θα είναι στα αγγλικά. So we're very glad to be welcoming Αντρέ Μπολεσλάβσκι on his presentation for 2 months' work during his residency on the EMAP residency at Stegi. EMAP is the European Media Arts Platform. It's a partnership of 11 cultural institutions across Europe. And our objective is to help and support media arts in Europe through a series of residencies that happen concurrently along the 11 partners. And we're very glad to be working with André here. And of course, it becomes apparent that VR work is not a single man's job, of course. It's not somebody sitting behind a PC, and certainly not if it is about dance. So we are also very glad to welcome Χρυσάνθη, Εμμανουέλα, and Mario, a crew that helped André from the very beginning. And of course, as a collective work, nothing would have happened. So Χρυσάνθη Μπαδέκα, Εμμανουέλα Κορκή, and Μάριο Ζέρβα, and André will further talk about the process of developing such an elaborate work and what complexities arise when you try to work with DIY equipment, adding limited time, and of course, creativity and goodwill helps everything into making a fruitful piece of art. So, stage is yours.
So, thank you, Heracles, for introducing us, and thanks everyone for coming, and thanks to Stegi for having me. I'm André Boleslavsky. I come from Prague, from Czech Republic, and I'm involved in VR for, I can say, 18 years, because my first job was for a company that was titled VR Millennium. They created simulations for pilots, and I found it very fascinating that VR is the first medium that does not just provide you with information like book or movie, but it really provides you with experience where you can experience unreal situations and go into dangerous situations and get yourself prepared to them. Later on, I worked as a game designer. Then I became an artist and researcher for a cultural organization. And for the last 5 years, I'm an independent artist who mainly works with virtual reality and contemporary dance. I like to combine these two because they don't really need to be combined, right? For dance, you only need your body and space, and maybe not even space if we are somewhere without any space. And I think that the most interesting partnerships are when there's no need to create them, but when both of them, they stimulate each other with different ideas and different ways of approaching things. My first time I met Χρυσάνθη was funny enough. It was in this building. We went with Czech Theater. We had a show, and Χρυσάνθη came to see that show. And after the show, we started to talk, and she told me about festival she's organizing, Athens Video Dance Project. And that time I was preparing VR artwork that involved contemporary dance, and it featured this new way of recording things that is called volumetric recording. Is anyone of you familiar with volumetric recording? So when you are recording image with the normal camera, you see everything from chosen point of view, from the point of view that was selected by the camera operator, the cameraman or director, and you see things in frame. But the world is 3D, right? So it would be really cool if we can record things as they happen in 3D space, and then we can just change the camera in the post-production or change the camera in real time, or even see that in VR and walk through the recorded scene. So that is volumetric recording, and that's what we created with the installation called Dust that Χρυσάνθη chose to host here in Athens. And this piece featured basically 2 dancers that were recorded by volumetric recording, and you could see them dancing in the space right in front of you, and you could walk around them and get closer or further. So that's very unusual way of recording dance. At the festival, I also met Marios, who is one of the core members of the festival. And actually, Marios is a scuba diving instructor, and Χρυσάνθη is scuba diving as well. And we started to discuss how to push things further, how to make it even more difficult. And we thought of, yeah. So we thought of recording dance in a volumetric way under the water. And maybe Χρυσάνθη can tell more about the process.
Hi, everybody. I'm Χρυσάνθη, and I come from the field of dance. However, I'm filmmaker editor, so when André called me and he proposed to start working on this idea that we had a long time ago in the festival, I was very excited. And that was when the big challenge started. Well, I thought a lot of different layers that I would like to share. And since the work is still in progress, it's really nice that we have the chance to share with you the best practices and how we work together. So the first challenge was to really create a strong and skilled team with powerful people, creative minds who wanted to come together to this adventure for this limited time we had. So Emmanuela came with us, Anthi, who is also the dancer there, and Christina, she's the costume designer there, and Dimitra, who is not here because she has rehearsal. And also Kostas, who is the second hand of Marios in the scuba diving part, who could not also be here. So the first challenge was to really find the people who would love to support this vision and be really willing to drive with us in this adventure. And I think we made a good job. We had good time. The second thing is that the limited time, working in less than 2 months altogether. Basically, we had something like 12 rehearsals. It was a very limited time to solve problems and to create and develop methodology, and of course, to create a choreographic score. However, I feel that we managed to do at the same time research and development somehow, and find some really nice solutions, and knowing now what we need more in order to make the next step. I remember the first time we had the meeting when André came to visit us, and the big decision was if we should work with free divers who are really good with apnea skills, or with synchro swimming athletes, or with dancers with good hygiene. Hopefully, we decided to work with the dancers, because I remember André said that, okay, if we work with free divers, for sure we will have apnea more, but it will take them... Apnea is when you hold your breath and you dive as much as possible. Maybe Marios can also explain more about apnea.
It's just holding your breath, and depending, it's static or dynamic. So dynamic is going deep, and static is just staying without breath on the surface. So we decided to choose, finally, and it was a good decision, to have dancers. because dance is something that you learn to know and takes so much time. But apnea, it can take, as we saw, less time. And they became in a really good level in short time, the dancers that we have.
Yeah, they were really brave because we saw how fast they were getting more skilled in holding their breath, even though they had air supply, but also they were able to propose things underwater and even managed to take off the mask really, really soon. And I'm really highlighting that because we spent only almost 12 days underwater, 12 rehearsals, which is really, really limited. Another challenge, should I go on?
Yeah, maybe I can explain the recording process. So,
sure.
So Χρυσάνθη and team were in charge to develop choreography underwater, and my goal was to create a recording system for the volumetric recording that would be underwater. That process actually started even many months ago, because the process that I really like is called photogrammetry. And photogrammetry is, did any one of you heard about photogrammetry or even tried? Yeah, quite some people, right. So it's a process where you take a lot of pictures from different points of view, and then you let the machine process that pictures with algorithm to reconstruct you a 3D model. So basically what we wanted to have is not just recorded movie frames, so 30 images per second, but we wanted to achieve a recording where we would end up with 30 3D models per second, so you can animate and change those 3D models and then get the volumetric recording. To do that, I started to develop do-it-yourself underwater cameras. We had 21 cameras that were aligned under the water to record the events from multiple points of view, so then I can later on extract the frames from every single moment and recreate the 3D model. So we ended up with really large amount of data, as you can imagine, and I'm still about to process that, so what you will see today is not using that kind of data, but it's using the Kinect camera that was not under the water. And then we worked with Marios to find the methodology how to properly work with these cameras underwater. So, of course, this was very difficult. Maybe you can.
We made some experiments in the beginning in shallow waters, like 1 meter, to check if the boxes without cameras inside, they can stand the pressure of the water. Some of them, they went good. Some of them, they went to the bottom. So after that, experiment by experiment, test by test, we had some good results. So we continue on that. The main thing, it was like how we can communicate underwater, how we can check that everything is working. I was underwater, or Kostas was underwater, so André was on the top. So the whole thing was a little bit strange, how we can communicate.
It turned out to be a very difficult project because when you plan things, your mind is constructing some reality that is not complete, and so you don't realize what kind of situations that you have to deal with. So it turned out that we cannot really efficiently communicate underwater, that I don't have any way how to speak to the diver team. Then we tried some waterproof phones with the images from camera, and all those kind of problems that you only need to experience yourself during the, so to say, full runs, because even though we did a lot of tests, it never really showed all challenges that there really are in this kind of project?
Yeah, the main problem is that was the Wi-Fi signal underwater is lost. I mean, like 20 centimeters from the source, the signal is lost. So we couldn't do a lot of things. We tried with a cable of antenna to send the signal on the top. This was taking too much time. We are underwater with air, so the air was off, was ending, so we had to do something faster, and that caused problem. I mean, the time was not a good friend of us at that moment.
Maybe we can share also what happened underwater with the movement.
Yes.
And that was the beginning. This is the day one, the first tryout. So it was in June, and the weather was quite cold at that time. So even though we knew from the very beginning that the dancers will not wear swimming suit, scuba diving suit, diving suit, yeah, wetsuit. She had to wear this on, so she had to put weights as well. And also the first day, as you see, both of us, we were with all the equipment. However, in the second rehearsal, we figure out that we can be lighter, and we can also work by ourselves next to the regulator and take the regulator whenever we needed to have more air. So this is actually the second day when we were rehearsing and we were improvising, and trying also to create a communication and a methodology with how we can reflect and understand what is needed and what is not. We were always using an underwater camera filming, and then me as an editor, I was collecting material that I would love to share, and I was organizing tutorials because the communication was very limited underwater. But we had to spend more time before the rehearsals to check the material and discuss what we want to explore. The basic communication was like, okay, or okay, move on to the next one, or okay, repeat, or I have problem, and then we had to show. And there was a decision like, okay, if I will point out who is gonna do the whole score again, you could watch the other dancer and you can learn from each other underwater. And only if we had to talk a lot, we had to go up. And we had also notebooks, because you can write with pencil underwater. So if we couldn't really manage with the body language, we were sharing some words.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to say that from the second rehearsal, it came a feeling, very nice feeling, that we could really work down there. It was like a working place, like, you know, the mind of the human mind can appreciate and be in every circumstance and work. And it was very liberating, this thing, because you had another space, not familiar, but in a way familiar, and you could communicate and do many, many things. And this very specific communication, I think, augmented the focus and augmented the confidence between the members, and it was very special. And
Yeah.
I can say other things.
That was a little bit challenging in the beginning. I mean, with every dancer, we had a small tutorial about a small intro how we can survive underwater. Yeah. First of all, and after that, how we can work underwater. So this was really. It was a target, a point for us, how they can feel confident with me and the others that they are going to help them, but how they can feel confident without air in a different environment, an environment that we don't, that we are not for that. We don't belong on that. So that was a little bit challenging for us also, for me and Kostas as well, how we can make them trust us and trust the equipment also. So that was a really nice point, because all of the girls, they were really, at the end, helping us and not us helping them. They made our life really easy underwater, and that was perfect.
And I would like to share also, just a moment, related to that, I would like to share that during the shootings, the relationship was different, because if you all know, when you go underwater and you open your eyes, there is visibility. You can see, but you cannot see really well. So during the shootings, the girls were in a very limited space, and I was behind the cameras. So they couldn't really watch me giving signals and confirming that the score was performed okay, and they had to move on. So basically, I was communicating that with Mario's, and Mario's being next to them and providing them air, they had to translate my directions. So basically, this triangle worked as one body and one mind, trying to really understand how they were feeling, but also reflecting them what is needed, and kindly ask if they could do it again or not. We can show you a little clip that is edited as if you were behind the cameras, sitting next to us. We edited the clips all together. As you know, the big challenge for choreographing underwater was that we had to create an algorithm with a lot of different small scores based on the dramaturgy and the idea and the topic that André brought. And they had to know the scores and repeat them one by one. So you will see the whole choreography, which is only behind the camera experience, because originally in André's idea, you will never watch the water. So this is a little gift. The sound you will hear is the sound the camera was recording underwater, and you will hear a lot of bubbles because it's me and the other divers breathing underwater. So this is just as a simulation. I would like to add a little bit about the costume, because the costume was really, really important part of the performance and the whole project. So in the beginning, we thought that it's going to be much easier, but choreographing for 2.5 meters almost, it's impossible to stay on the floor, on the bottom. However, we had discussed with André that it would be really interesting to use the bottom and the medium levels in order to be more playful with the idea of gravity and weightless. So we really find out from the second rehearsal that they need weights. And that's when Christina had this maverick idea to create this beautiful costume, where you can see later there, with using a material from curtains with small weights. So basically, the whole costume is the weight for the dancers. So throughout the rehearsals, we knew how many weights they were needed, some of them 4 or 5. And then she was waving the material. Then she made this beautiful pattern, organizing the weight on the parts of the body that they had the need to, adding also the markers for André. However, we saw in the test that they needed more weights after all, because of the, I guess, of the material and
how it was distributed in the costume.
Yeah. So she was keep sewing and organizing more weights on that. So that was a very crucial part and a beautiful problem solving, I would say, creatively. So Christina, thumbs up.
Yes.
Yeah. For me, I was really fascinated with what Χρυσάνθη and the dancers could achieve, because when you see the video like this, it looks so easy, but it was such a complicated process for them, and they had to really step very far out of the comfort zone. So imagine that you cannot breathe, you cannot go up because you are heavy, and you cannot see, so you need to have a complete trust in the team around you to basically keep you alive. Also, the water was quite cold for the dancer, because that was at the bottom of the pool, and if you don't move, so you stay static to spare energy for the next moves in the choreography, it really feels very, very cold. And sometimes they were under the water for more than an hour, right?
Yeah, more or less.
More
50
or less.
minutes, 1 hour sometimes.
Yes.
It was a long time.
Yes. It was a challenge. It was a very very deep experience, because when you are in another environment, things come to the essentials. So what do you do, and what do you think, and what do you do are very specific and valuable. And I want to thank very much everybody on the team, and the wonderful dancers, Anthi and Dimitra and Christina, and because they gave me this opportunity to be in this other world and face all these new questions, and that are very personal and also very artistic in the same time. So, beginning from the dystopia of André and his vision, and with the help of Χρυσάνθη, that sees the body and had the vision inside the water, how to use really contemporary work, but in a paradox way, and with the help of Mario's, so we have the confidence, everybody, to be there and feel calm and creative in that environment. It was very special for me, this thing. And learning, it was a lesson how you can work with, it's like a community work, this work, because you have really to feel confidence and really to be calm, and this creates a ritual, and a ritual is created by a need. So this process and this research created a ritual, and I hope it will continue because it can offer ideas and experiences, not only to us, but to other people, very deep and very, how do we will see our bodies, our minds in the years to come. So, so yeah, so it is a ritual, and it feels very it feels very nice to be in that out of your zone, but in an environment that is vastless, and the water it makes the body feel very light, and you can feel you can do many things, but you are very tranquil, and you can be lost, and you can say, oh, I can breathe, but the moment you open your mouth, it stops, because it's water. The mind goes, and it's like a little trip in a way if you stay a long time there. But it's very good because there you have the people that they say, okay, let's go from the beginning again, because every breath is an end and every breath is a beginning. And you go there, and you have all these beautiful people around you that are saying, okay, calm and take your time. And you have to, a friend of mine says, you untie your shoes. It's like you untie, you have to be loose. It's like a 0 point, and then everything comes together. And to feel like this, I feel to be loved. So I felt that I was loved in that space very much. So this worked, and I thank you very much for this, because I believe in the creative process very much. I think it's very crucial. So I liked very much that we used contemporary techniques. We used techniques from the improvisation, from the theater, because I have a background from it. So, and Χρυσάνθη, very nice, organized this improvisation work down there. So this was very important for me, and André gave us the space to do that, and his support, and working with the girls was very inspiring, because we saw each other, we commented, we said this and that, and how you can do it better, where do you feel calm, where do you feel anxious. Very nice. It's very important to share the experience, and before you go in, out. So it was in and out. That was very nice, because the preparation, I thought it was in the water, but as I was thinking about it, it was the whole process, the ritual. So you prepare, you do the warm-up, you do the breathing, you go in. You wear the costume. You talk with his Christina, and you have all this preparation, and you go to the water, and then you stay there, and maybe you will swim, you go down, you breathe, you again breathe, and it starts the choreography, and you try, and then again, and again, and the time passes, and as long as you do it, as the time passes and you do it, something changes. And in the end, I said, Χρυσάνθη, I was very happy that I felt that I found the role. I met this other creature there as a dancer and performer that came from what we did. So I had a glimpse of the creature that is in that space, in this dystopia, or in this weird environment that we don't know exactly what will become of it, or so I felt like this creature a little bit. I had questions: where am I? What will happen? So it was very nice. Was very nice from this point of view. And last, so I believe this work, it's very important because it can offer in many levels, and I wish André and the whole team really to continue, because it can give methodology to many levels, from the breathing, how do we say, preparation, to the choreographic work, to the movement down in the water from the instructors, and all these things, how really can be used in the VR world, and what feelings and new questions can we put André? Can we put André again? I don't know.
Emma,
Okay,
Emma, when I listen to you, I realize that the only way how to properly experience this work is to become a dancer and perform underwater.
Yes.
So for those of us who are not able to do what Emma do, so that's probably no one, we will have a short showcase of the working progress VR piece.
With no water inside.
With no water. And before I open this panel to your questions and comments and discussion, I would like to thank again so much to the whole team, because this really became teamwork and community work, and it absolutely wouldn't be possible without them. And I feel that it wouldn't be possible in any other city than in Athens. And I would like to thanks to Stegi, to Onassis Stegi, for choosing me and for inviting me to work on this project, and to the whole EMAP network to provide this opportunity. Thank you.
We were wondering if you have any questions.
Did you ever ask the dancers to pretend to be in a specific environment, or to pretend to be someone else than what they are?
Yes. So I probably forgot to mention the concept of the artwork and the original inspiration. So the original working title was 3.711 meters per second squared, which is the gravity on Mars. And this work is about the idea of traveling to another planets, and about colonizing another planets, because now you have a lot of rich people like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos opening the discussion of colonizing the space. And this debate is exciting, but also it gives me a lot of anxiety, because if you see this kind of rich people preparing an escape plan, it doesn't feel very safe, right? It's not that kind of space exploration that we had in the 60s, where we opened up a new frontier and we proved that it is possible to go to space. But now we are starting to think that it's impossible to stay on Earth. And that's... in this piece, I tried to explore this utopia and dystopia, this dual situation of where we are going. Is it going to be exciting, or is it going to be frightening?
Yeah, when we met, we started developing the script or the story a little bit, brainstorming of how we perceive this utopian place. So I asked André some keywords about the idea, and then he brought the microsatellites, the Kessler syndrome, and the Dyson sphere. So there is a story that has an intro, and then there is a transfer transfer to another place where you as user are going to meet the creatures. So basically, this dancing scene is the third scene of this work that we would love to implement. And around them, there are a lot of debris, and there is a shock light, and there are vibrations. So actually, I developed the score based on shock lights and vibrations. And that's why you see them starting from upside down position, from head to the bottom, and then slowly coming to the standing position throughout a lot of different shocks and vibrations. So in the first half, there is a tendency of trying to stay, but because of the vibration, they fall. And then while the choreography progresses, there are a lot of vibrations, shaking them here and there. So every time we were asking them to have a focus outside, because with the visuals, they're going to be responded to the outer space, which is the location of third scene.
First, congratulations. It's amazing how all these different things are put together. I was wondering, since you mentioned the score, to what extent it was something that you had prepared before going into this process, and to what extent did the limitations somehow shape this score into something new and added to this kinetic vocabulary?
I somehow, when we started brainstorming, I had this idea, the intro position with upside down position. So that was very clear for me that I'm going to start with this. And then I was saying them that, okay, let's pretend that you are in this position forever. We all know Matrix and all those old sci-fi movies when we saw the bodies being cells in water, hanging there and waiting for a time to become alive again or something like that. So I think that was maybe a very deep inspiration. So I was asking them to stay there as long as possible, and then because of the first shock, they fall. And with this fall, they start waking up. So that was the initial point, but from the very beginning, what I was explaining also to André and Mario's is that I would love to be underwater and create a liquid improv studio where we can see what the water can offer us.
That's why we say the acceleration.
Yeah, because Weightless is very much for me related to time. And if you are underwater, you cannot force the water. You have to really open yourself and, as Mario says, be the water.
This is Bruce Lee.
Let the water drive you. And that was a lot. It was coming back in our conversation because after improvising and me picking up the little movements that I was interested to combine, and then combining the scores and tuning it with the dramaturgy, then after rehearsing the whole series, then we were trying to add rhythm into that. So there were moments where they had to really practice a lot in order not to use their hands. So because it was very clear that we don't want to show that we are underwater. That's one thing. And the second thing is to really try to create dynamics, because otherwise it would have been flat, unless André would spend a lot of hours in post-production creating rhythm, which is something I know as an editor, a camera, a video editor, but with VR, it's a lot much more computing. So we were trying to create rhythm, and there were moments when because of, let's say, using more power to jump, they had to really their weight to let them go down. And there were moments where they were forcing themselves because they were really conscious about the rhythm. But then I remember us talking in the rehearsals over the water, saying that, okay, if you have that, you cannot force the water. You just have to wait. So, yeah, I really created everything underwater in a very good collaboration with the girls, exploring the movement and the off-balance and paradoxical shapes and the rhythm and the quality of the water that gave us.
Hi, I'm Maria Rusu from the University of Athens. Congratulations to all of you, and especially the dancers. I'm not quite clear what the virtual reality experience is, and for whom is it a virtual experience? So did you set out to create a virtual experience for us, someone else, to put on a headset, for example, and try to feel what these dancers felt in their Weightless, or was it something else?
Exactly. That's a good question. Thank you. We have a VR headset here that is prepared for you to try. The work in progress presentation of the experience is using data that we didn't record it in water, but we recorded in the studio. And it's a 3-minute long piece that you can see yourself with the VR headset. The plan is to then showcase this work as a VR installation for the partners of the EMAP network, and also to submit this work to the festivals that feature contemporary dance, performance, technologies, digital art, and movies. So with the previous work that was titled Dust, it's a virtual reality cinematic experience of contemporary dance. So that means that it's a VR that is not really simulating any kind of interaction, but it lets you watch dance performance as if you would be there. And the important moment of inspiration for me, I really watch so much more dance performances than movies. I've seen maybe 4 movies in the last 1 year, but maybe 20 dance performances. And the important moment of inspiration was kinesthetic empathy, to really feel an emotion just by watching someone to move. And I thought that it would be really interesting to watch someone to move in a different way in VR and explore what kind of feeling that creates.
I would like to say, coming from also from the dance film community, because we are running the International Dance Film Festival, Athens Video Dance Project in Greece. Year by year, apart from hosting short dance films or long length or documentaries, we're hosting also VR dance films. So what André proposes is to use VR medium also as an alter experience, more immersive experience of watching dance, not on screen, but in
VR headset.
In VR headset.
Hello, my name is Konstantin. I came here because I thought that was very emerging stuff that was about to be shown here. I think it's 2 sides of that. It's a technical side and a side that has to be focused through emotional stuff. The technical side is that when we dance, as a viewer, me for example, if I see somebody dance, I can see him through a plane, 2-dimensional plane, and through the front of it, through the face of it. Even if somebody takes pictures or video from up above through a drone, let's say, then I just can't imagine what exactly is going on the dance floor. And I am amazed only from the shapes that maybe the choreography can give to me. But if I use this VR stuff, then I have the feeling that I would be placed inside there. I have used some VR ballets from the ballet, some experiments done with VR movies, and it's very immersive stuff because I can walk through the dancers and I can feel them. I can feel exactly even the sweat of them on the bodies. So that's the technical stuff that gives me the opportunity to be in the field, on the dance floor with them. And that's very good. And of course, this VR stuff is emerging now, and I think Google and all that companies will spend about $2.5 billion the next 2 or 3 years for that VR stuff. And this VR stuff will get into the education much more than a normal projector is going on now. The other stuff is, as I see this film and what you have done here, it is like I am in a dream, which means that the environment has no action, but as in a dream, I react on a possible action, which means that makes me feel mostly to fantasize what I would have done in a possible environment, but with no actions. So it's a virtual reality in my body. It's like a dream in a dream, actually. And if the dancers could feel that, maybe the experiment would be much more better. Not feeling in the water, but feeling in an inactive environment.
Yeah, thanks for the stimulating comment. I mean, that is exactly the one of the challenges for VR dance is that you don't really know where the audience is, and usually the audience is not in the on their seats, but they are right on the dance floor. So the choreography has to be made in a way that is not frontal as with the usual type of work. And also all the movements, they feel so much more intimate since you are much closer to people. So with the previous projects, we realized that the dance that would be made for really large theater, because we were on a residency in company that is creating pieces for audiences larger than 500 people. Suddenly those kind of movements feel even threatening. So we had to really step down and create movements that are intimate, slow. You would call them boring if you would be far away, but when you are close, it feels very personal.
Yeah, choreographing for the camera is totally different than VR because, as you know, with editing you have the opportunity to direct the eye, going from wide shots to with cuts to close-ups and so on. With VR, you really don't know where the audience is, so this is something you really have to take care of, and that's why, even though we had some ideas with interaction, we dropped them out and we created other ideas regarding this limitation. But I would say that having the experience of being inside the space and not just sitting on your sofa watching and having the sound around you, and also with volumetric design, be possible to move a little bit and choose the angle of viewing, is something that really challenges, I think, the medium and the audience. And also when narration incorporates tasks, little physical tasks for the viewer, this is when I think the whole story starts having more adventure. So yeah, we talked a lot about that, how we can really engage the audience and not just having them sitting in the middle of a space watching. And I hope we will manage to move forward and develop more of this.
Well done to all of you. It's amazing what you've achieved. You mentioned briefly that you had some ideas about making this interactive, the piece. Could it potentially be interactive, and would it be an interesting way of engaging the viewer even more and make it a dance between two people instead of one?
I would love to, because I've seen a lot of VR dance films being part of the community, of the international community. Nowadays, there's a big thread of that. So what attracts me also as audience, not as creator, is to really move my body and be in a interactive position, not just sitting there and watching. So this is something I'd love to explore more, and since I know that André is interested too, I hope we have maybe a second residency to prove that.
Yeah. It's a good point, because I like to criticize some of the VR content for not really being a VR, but when I come up with a definition of VR as having an experience in a simulated environment, this kind of work is not really VR, because it's not a simulation. You see an image that is three-dimensional, you can change your point of view, but you have no influence whatsoever on the environment. On the other hand, with the previous work, I found it interactive in the way that often people try to touch the dancer in a very gentle way. So at the beginning, we used these controllers, and when people had these controls, they used it like instruments, and they almost like try to use it as a hammer or some kind of strange tool to do something with the dancer's body. But when we removed the controllers, people felt much more personal and much more gentle. And it was also interesting that usually little kids, they try to hit and kick the dancer. So when there was usually a boy under 7 age old, he would try to punch the dancer. So probably you don't want to allow some kinds of interactivities, because I don't want that kind of work to become a punching game or something like that. There's a different work for VR that we did, and it's called Camouflage, and that is actually an interactive game in VR for multiple people. So maybe interactivity would be nice, but for a radically different type of piece. And actually, today I've got a feedback for one more grant application, and we got rejected because the work is not interactive. So, yeah.
So what is more to see in this work?
Right. So
and where we can see it?
Where? So definitely the challenge comes from processing the data that we recorded. First of all, it was very challenging to reach the best possible technical situation, mainly because I did not predict enough the budget and time requirements for this kind of project. And what is more to see is the actual choreography created underwater, because we created recording from 20 cameras that needs to be calculated into 3D models, and that will take estimated at least 2 months to generate the actual volumetric video content. So the goal is really to create volumetric video content that you can see in the headset, and that comes from the underwater data. And where to see it? So I imagine it to be a two-step process. So first, it would be provided for the partners of the IMAB network who provided all the support and who are producers, mainly Stegi. And the next step would be to sign it to the festivals who are having open calls and who host the VR content. And the third step would be to put this kind of work to some kind of digital distribution. So The reason why I work with VR is that I don't really like the current content that is created for VR, mainly violent games, and I like to somehow challenge that kind of content and provide something that myself I would like to see in VR. Okay, so we can have more questions after this session. The big challenge of VR is that only one person can see it at a time. So probably the rest of you who would like to see it, we will have to somehow wait. You can watch the video, see the costume and the posters that we created with the dancers. And
also,
of course,
yeah, also Onassis is here, who is the second dancer, and Christina, the costume designer. So we can share also more information with them if you want.
Yeah. So thanks a lot for coming, and let's try what we have in as a work in progress. Thank you.
Thank you.